My name is Stephanie Cpac from the email box. I'm with Fireman Fisk Advocacy Communications, and I will serve as today's moderator. Just a reminder for folks, if we can mute, silence phones, and be muted yourself on the Zoom until it's time to ask a question, we appreciate it. I want to thank you all for joining us here today to talk about the Michigan House Democratic Pandemic Recovery Plan. We're going to start out with a list of our speakers today so everybody knows the rundown. There's House Democratic Leader Donna Lazinski, a Democrat from Scioto Township, Representative Joe Tate, a Democrat from Detroit, Representative Christine Morse, a Democrat from Portage, Representative Kelly Breen, a Democrat from Novi, and Representative Lori Pahutsky, a Democrat from the city of Livonia. So I want to thank all of our speakers for joining us here today, and thank you to the media. And with that, I will turn it over to House Democratic Leader Lazinski.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Again, my name is Donna Lazinski, and I'm the Democratic leader for the Michigan House of Representatives. You know, if I've learned anything over the past 9 months, it's that the COVID-19 virus doesn't care about politics, doesn't care what neighborhood you live in, it doesn't care how you interact in the world. The pandemic has cost people their lives across the country. It's cost people their jobs in our country, in our state, and across the world. What we know here in Michigan is that every community has been impacted. And that's why House Democrats are continuing to push for a pandemic recovery plan that puts Michigan workers back to work, ensures that small businesses have the support they need, and supports families and schools along with educators. The federal government at the end of last year made available to Michigan billions of dollars in stimulus available to us. Since then, our Michigan dollars, our Michigan taxpayer dollars that have been sent to the federal government are still just sitting there in Washington, D.C. These dollars have not been brought back here to Michigan to get to work. And so our hardworking Michigan taxpayer dollars have taken up residence in Washington, D.C. instead of doing the work we need done here in the state of Michigan. Michiganders across the state need those dollars here now. Legislative Republicans right now, as we saw last week, are holding this money up. They're holding it hostage with threats of different types of partisan political actions in their fight with the governor when Michiganders deserve action right now. Our small businesses need relief today. Our kids and educators want to get back to school safely. We need to have the opportunity to do that. And what we all know is that vaccine distribution, testing, and tracing need to be accelerated. And that's why as House Democrats, we are calling for a quick, rapid up or down vote to bring these federal stimulus dollars here to Michigan right now to get to work. This virus has harmed too many small businesses and pushed too many families to the brink. When Republicans are holding up these federal stimulus dollars, we know that not a single Michigander is being helped by their tax dollars that have already been paid, have already been remitted to the federal government, are waiting to come back here. Many of these dollars are use it or lose it. If we don't bring them back to the state, we lose the opportunity to have them help us here in Michigan. We lose the opportunity for those dollars to come to work in Michigan, and they will instead go to work in perhaps a neighboring state, Ohio, Indiana, anywhere but here in Michigan. And we need that help now. To reopen our state, we need to solve the public health crisis before us. House Democrats are ready to take the vote to get these federal stimulus dollars in motion to return to the state of Michigan and help those in need who need it most across our state. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Representative Joe Tate, the Democratic Vice Chair of the House Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, Leader Lazinski. My name is Joe Tate, and I represent the 2nd House District, which covers Detroit's Lower East Side, Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe, and Grosse Pointe Farms. I'm sponsoring a set of appropriation bills that will help get Michigan's federal stimulus dollars over $5 billion into the hands of Michigan residents. We can take an up or down vote and get people relief immediately. These appropriation bills include $90 million for vaccine distribution throughout Michigan, so we can get more shots into people's arms. $575 million to expand COVID-19 testing, contact tracing, and lab capacity. $2.1 billion in food assistance. $661 million to help with rental assistance and winter utility bills, $2 billion for Michigan's public schools, $270 million for small business relief, and language that would extend unemployment assistance from 20 to 26 weeks. These are dollars ready to be released back to the people of Michigan. This is real relief. Last week in the House Appropriations Committee, we heard from several small business owners who have faced this pandemic head on. It hasn't been easy for these and other small business owners across Michigan. In many cases, business owners have sacrificed profit to follow the advice from public health experts on how to slow the spread of the virus and save lives. My Democratic colleagues and I recognize that small businesses, hardworking Michiganders, families, students, and educators need relief, and they need it now. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Representative Christine Morse, my colleague from West Michigan.
Thank you, Representative Tate. My name is Christine Morse, and I represent the 61st House District, which covers parts of Kalamazoo County, including the city of Portage, as well as the townships of Ashtemo, Prairie Run, Schoolcraft, and Texas. As a member of the Health Policy Committee and a breast cancer survivor, I understand that how we handle the ongoing pandemic is truly a matter of life or death. More than 15,000 people in our state have died because of COVID-19, and we know many others who have recovered from COVID-19, yet are still feeling the lingering effects. Pfizer, which is located right here in my district, has produced a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, and I have immense pride in the role that Pfizer workers have played in providing us a path to end this devastating pandemic for Michigan, our country, and the rest of the world. We know the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines is the only way our state and economy can recover. The shot in our arm our economy needs is directly related to the number of shots going to people's arms. We need faster vaccine delivery, and approving this bill will make that happen. Legislative Republicans want to hold onto Michigan taxpayer dollars and play games with the lives of our residents. That is simply wrong. And I stand at the ready with my House Democratic colleagues to take a vote and pass this pandemic recovery bill. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Representative Kelly Breen, my colleague from Oakland County.
Thank you, Representative Morse. My name is Kelly Breen. I represent the 38th House District, which covers the cities of Novi, Walled Lake, South Lyon, the Oakland County portion of Northville, and Lyon and Novi townships. Through the Democratic Pandemic Recovery Plan, we can begin to heal our state from the physical, emotional, and financial duress Michiganders have suffered due to the pandemic. Small mom and pop businesses in my district and across Michigan need this pandemic recovery plan now. Michigan workers and families need this pandemic recovery plan now. Schools and teachers need this pandemic recovery plan now. Not tomorrow, not a week from now, today. The statewide pause on reopening prevented more than 100,000 COVID cases in Michigan, according to the initial findings from the University of Michigan School of Public Health. Today, restaurants across our state are reopening for indoor dining with exceptional safety measures in place. We want to reopen the remaining portions of our economy safely and keep COVID cases from spiking again. We must all continue to do our part by wearing masks, socially distancing, and staying home when we feel sick. But for our state to recover, we must take this vital step and approve Michigan's federal stimulus dollars. This pandemic recovery plan will help our students, our educators, and our schools. As a mother of two and the wife and daughter of educators, I know providing in-person learning options for students must be handled safely and effectively. We must also keep remote learning options available and help them be successful. I want our kids back in the classroom just as much as I want my husband and my 74-year-old father, who is still teaching shop, to be safe. Getting teachers, parapros, bus drivers, all the educational support staff vaccinated is crucial to ensuring a safe return to full-time face-to-face learning. As someone who played soccer for decades, and as a mother of very active 7 and 10-year-olds, I want our kids back on the field, the court, and the ice. We want our kids to be with their friends and teammates again, and this plan is critical to putting us on the path to make that happen. My House Democratic colleagues and I are ready to act for the people of Michigan. These are our tax dollars. It's our money. And if we don't use it, we lose it. Let's pass this pandemic recovery plan. Thank you. And now I will turn this over to my colleague, Representative Lori Pohutsky from the 19th District.
Thank you, Representative Breen. My name is Lori Pohutsky, and I represent the 19th House District, which covers the majority of the city of Livonia in Wayne County. As a scientist who worked in the healthcare field prior to being elected, I know how important it is to listen to our public health experts. The medical breakthrough of multiple vaccines in the fight to end the COVID-19 pandemic is extraordinary. Getting shots in the arms, as Michigan has begun doing, has to be our top priority. We must ensure that counties have sufficient doses, and this bill will do just that. Taking a vote on this pandemic recovery plan will immediately distribute $90 million for vaccine distribution throughout Michigan. That will have immediate impact in speeding up delivery of vaccines to local health departments, hospitals, and pharmacies across our state and help get more shots in arms. This pandemic recovery plan also includes $575 million in federal stimulus to expand COVID-19 testing, contact tracing, and lab capacity. As new variants of COVID-19 emerge, we must continue to be diligent in our testing and tracing of the virus and use the data to make informed public health decisions. I stand with my Michigan House Democratic colleagues in our call for action on this critical piece of funding. Thank you, and I will now turn it back over to our moderator.
Thank you to all of our speakers today. I know we want to hop into questions and we have a lot of people on the Zoom, so let's do that, but please identify your name and which outlet you're with before asking your question. No questions?
This is Jonathan Osting at Bridge. Question for anybody. How much of this money actually is, time sensitive? I know someone said use it or lose it. I understand the rental assistance is, but are other programs or other appropriations specifically time sensitive as well?
Thank you for that question, Jonathan. Representative Tate, would you like to answer that?
Yes, there are. The federal funding that is proposed, there are deadlines and sunsets to those, and we can give you more detailed information in a follow-on conversation.
I have a question for the Democratic leader, Madam Leader. Have you considered discharge motions to get this legislation moving since the Republicans are moving not fast enough for you?
Thank you, Tim, for that question. Leader Lazinski.
Thank you, Tim. We are exploring all of our options right now. We have these bills introduced. Appropriations Committee met for the first time last Wednesday and is meeting, did not take up any bills other than the Republican introduced bills. And so we do have the opportunity this Wednesday in appropriations to take a look at these bills. If the Republicans choose again to sit and to not take actions, we will explore all of our options.
If I may, how long will you wait before you try a discharge?
Thank you for that, Tim. Leader Lazinski.
Thank you. That's what we'll look at, Tim. We have to see if there is a sincere offer here for us to have a conversation and have a negotiation. We know as House Democrats, what we're hearing from our constituents, what we're hearing from businesses and educators, schools and families across the state is the idea of our hard-earned Michigan taxpayer dollars languishing in Washington, D.C. and not being here in the state for us to use to get folks back on their feet and to get our economy kickstarted again and to help stop the spread of this pandemic is simply unacceptable. So a specific legislative tactic right now is what we're evaluating, but we are taking a very strong action every day.
All right, are there questions from other media?
Yeah, this is Beth LeBlanc with the Detroit News. How does the House Democratic plan differ from what the governor had proposed, if at all? And are there any conditions in the House Democratic plan concerning when schools restart or if high school athletics are resumed? Are there any similar but perhaps less strict requirements for schools in that respect?
Thank you, Beth. I believe Leader Lazinski can answer that.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Beth. We are very proud to stand on our House Democratic values that are aligned with the governor's MI COVID relief plan. And so our plans are very similar in those aspects. This is purely an appropriations bill, so it does not address policy or other criteria. What our plan does not do is tie bar in any way or tie the hands in any way to making safe public health decisions. We believe that expertise resides with health experts, and we believe that there should be no holding hostage of federal dollars to the idea that there should be a removal of powers from our health experts in the Department of Health and Human Services or from the executive branch. And so we are looking at a straight up or down vote to bring back these federal dollars to the state of Michigan to get them to work. Quite frankly, federal dollars already come with plenty of strings attached, and we need to get these dollars to work quickly and efficiently, not add more strings.
Thank you. Does other media have questions?
This is Alethea with Gongwer. Outside of the sort of public health restrictions the House Republicans were including in their plan, they also wanted to do like the vaccine and testing money quarterly. Do you think there's any merit to that, or do you think that all of the money needs to go out, right away?
Thank you for that question, Alethea. Leader Lizinski.
Thank you. So, Alethea, I joke that I have a crystal ball here in my office. And if I could ask that crystal ball when, where, and how we would need that money, if it is in easy quarterly increments to come back to the state, I would love to know that. What I know is the first step is to get the dollars in the state. And then we can, and as we do, plan for those dollars to go out. We may need more of those testing and tracing dollars in the first quarter than we need in the fourth quarter of this year. It is important that we get these dollars here in the state right now so we can put them to their highest and best use immediately to help speed vaccine distributions, provide direct relief to small businesses, get educators and kids safely back to school, and to support testing and tracing. And so thinking now that we can predict out when we'll need these dollars, if those dollars will be left, if they will still be available from the federal government, we can get those dollars here today to get to work now.
I think
Hi.
we can take a few more questions. Dave, did you have a question?
I do. Yep. This is Dave Boucher with the Free Press. Leader Lizinski, excuse me. Can you speak to, from your experience from the quadrant meetings that you've been to, how the tenor and discussions are between Republican legislative leaders and the governor, and whether you think any sort of compromise on COVID financial relief, but also just in general, can be found at the start of the legislative session?
So thank you for that question. The Republican leadership in both the House and Senate have been very clear in their public statements what they believe is the correct path. That includes not releasing the entire $5.6 billion, leaving over $2 billion of it sitting at the federal government. We have seen partisan political moves to block nominations and other trying to score political points that don't matter to the people of Michigan. There is a strong movement by Michiganders, business owners, families, educators to get this money here to work in our state now. I believe that the Republicans are hearing from these same constituencies, and I do hope that opens the door for us to release all of these federal dollars here to the state of Michigan to get to work now.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more questions.
Hi, this is Dave Eckert at the Associated Press. Given that House Republicans kind of drew a line with potentially withholding federal K-12 aid, are you open at all to just trying to find some compromise on vaccine distribution, things like that, and just getting that out the door initially? Why the need to get all $5 billion plus out in one fell swoop?
Thank you, Dave. Representative Tate, would you like to answer Dave's question?
Yes. I would say with that, we know that COVID-19 has been impacting every resident in the state of Michigan. And I think there have been conversations, and we know that speed is of the essence. So in terms of moving and pushing federal funding out, we feel that we have to have these resources available and ready for Michiganders. And we're happy to have conversations. At the end of the day, though, we know we need to get resources out and out as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Representative Morse, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that as a mom of 2 kids who are still attending public schools, the fact that they have threatened to hold up funding that our schools need just to make sure everyone can safely get back to face-to-face is really shocking to me. And not only that, I would add that in Michigan, the responsibility to decide when it is safe for kids to go back to school rests with the local school boards. So we're already doing what they want in terms of who has control over when kids go back to school. So the fact that they're trying to, wrest some control away in another area just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think it's fair to hold our kids and our educational system hostage.
Okay, Representative Breen also had some thoughts.
I'm going to piggyback on what Representative Morse said. We both have kids, and today, as I listened to superintendents from the districts in my district, all 4 of them, it's reprehensible. I don't like my kids being held hostage. Each individual school district should be empowered, as they are now, to make the decisions that they need to decide what's best for their kids. But it's not just about the kids. It's also about the teachers, the bus drivers, the people that are helping the teachers, like the parapros. It is incomprehensible to me that those dollars would be held hostage when our kids desperately need to not only be in the classrooms, but we need to make sure that our teachers are safe. And local control is exactly where it needs to be with the individual school districts, because my district is so different from what is happening on the west side of the state or what is happening in the UP. If we want to by making local control incumbent upon the districts as it is now, then we're going to make sure that each and every one of our kids across the state is getting back to school when it is appropriate, when it is safe, and not at the expense of the health of the educational experts.
Thank you for those additional comments, Representative. Do we have another question from the media? Tim, I'm going to go to you unless somebody else has a question, since you've already gotten a couple in. All right, Skubik gets another one.
Madam Leader, the Republicans are pushing this county by county basis, which would be the essence of local control, which Ms. Breen just spoke to. What's wrong with the county by county approach? And are you open to at least talking about that to see if you can find some common ground?
Thank you, Tim. I'll let Leader Lozinski answer that, but I think Representative Pohutsky also has some thoughts particular to Wayne County. So go ahead, Leader Lozinski.
Thank you. What we've seen there, Tim, is that when local school districts are empowered within the context of the Department of Health and Human Services epidemiological orders that come out, we've seen that across the state. We had the pause. We know that that pause halted approximately 100,000 new cases of the COVID-19 virus. After the epidemiological order was lifted and it was determined that it was broadly safe across the state to return to school safely for families and educators, then local school districts had the opportunity then to decide what timing was right for them. That to me is not the same as breaking up the state in terms of different counties and having each county have its own set of orders and expectations for safe operation. We still need to be looking at this as a statewide problem. Again, the COVID virus doesn't care about politics and it doesn't care about county borders. So we need to have the experts weighing in across the state and then give the flexibility on how to move forward to the local school districts once it's been determined to be a safe option for families and educators.
But what happens if you give county by county authority to make these decisions on their own based on their own metrics, not necessarily statewide metrics? What's wrong with that?
Well, Tim, hold on. Let's let Representative Pohutsky talk about Wayne County real quick and give you some context.
So, I mean, it's not even so much just Wayne County, right? From a public health perspective, and the leader touched on this, the virus does not care about county lines, and also different counties have different levels of resources. A lot of rural counties do not have the ability to do contact tracing or the amount of testing that an area like Wayne County here can do. So it's very difficult to say, oh, well, each county can follow its own metrics, when even with the proposals that have been made, it requires a very, very high benchmark to even have a county be able to have that type of authority. So what we're talking about with the local control of school districts and understanding that they understand what resources their individual districts have is vastly different than empowering counties to essentially make public health decisions that are then going to impact the entire state. Because again, this virus does not respect county lines. If there is an outbreak that may go undetected within one county, there's nothing preventing it from spreading across the rest of the state. So that's a very dangerous and irresponsible stance to take, frankly.
Thank you, Representative. We're going to take one more question from media and then wrap it all up so you guys can have some food. Anybody else?
This is Jonathan at Bridge. One more follow-up. I mentioned the rental assistance program that is time sensitive. Wondering if Representative Tate or anybody else can speak to what that money would do and the importance of it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yep, we can follow up further, but if Representative Tate had some concluding thoughts on that.
Yes, I do, Jonathan. It will be similar to what was appropriated last year, where rental assistance as well as utility assistance would be pushed out to local housing authorities and programs across the state, where they would help constituents and citizens receive rental relief. So it'd be a similar program along the lines of what was taking place last year, but obviously with additional resources to help those in need.
Okay, we do have a question from Mary Hole in the chat. She just said, when do you want the Republicans to respond or vote on your proposal? Leader Lizinski, can you take that? And then we'll wrap it up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mary. We are in session tomorrow. We'll be on the House floor tomorrow. We have the ability to take a vote tomorrow. We then have the Appropriations Committee on Wednesday for consideration, but we need to get these dollars moving. It's not as though we take the vote today and the dollars from the federal government show up tomorrow. There's bureaucracy and red tape already involved, and we need these dollars here in the state urgently. And so we are pressing for the Republicans to take this seriously, to get Michigander tax dollars back here in the state of Michigan now, to provide relief to small businesses, speed vaccine distribution, testing and tracing, and help us get our students and educators back to school safely. And we cannot forget those components like rent eviction, diversion programs that will provide direct relief to families. We know that the faster we can get vaccines distributed, the faster we can jumpstart our economy, get it back on track, get everyone the good job that they need, and our kids safely in school.
Great. I want to thank all of our speakers here today and media for joining us. If you have any follow-up, please contact me. My email and phone number was in the advisory. So thanks everyone again. Appreciate it.